This is Chris Steinbach. I'm the Deputy Director at Muscatine Center for Social Action. We're in the midst of an annual program we call Adopt a Day at MCSA, which we will be talking about much more from now through September. How it works is we are asking businesses, churches, and other organizations to adopt MCSA for a day in August or September by making a donation of $1,500, which is about what it costs to run the emergency and transitional housing programs for the more than 700 men, women, and children who will live at MCSA this year. We will be visiting this morning with John Beckey of Beckey Insurance and Financial Services. John and his wife Vicki are longtime supporters of MCSA, and they have a unique way of participating in the Adopt a Day program. We'll talk about that and more. John, thank you for joining us on the program today. Maybe you could start out by explaining how you first became involved with MCSA and why it's so important.
Well, that's kind of a long, drawn-out answer to a question. If there's so many reasons that MCSA is important, and it's development, and we can't go into that whole story, but it started out with a very, very broad mission, and it has identified itself very well into certain areas of service that are extremely needed. MCSA, Vicki and I have supported MCSA for years, probably since its inception in some form, but even more so now. Vicki and I feel very fortunate to have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished and to have actually just, kind of been born in the right place, the right time, right situation that made our life pretty good. And so we kind of figure we owe something back, we owe something forward to those that didn't get some of those good fortunes that we've had. And so thinking about MCSA, I mean, it's just right on target. I mean, we've got people in this community, either by their own mistakes or things that just happen, circumstances in life, have struggles. They're struggling to have a place to live. They are hard to house, whether they've got some mental health issues or other issues or just financial issues, lost a job. And MCSA steps forward with the shelter and with counseling and assistance and trying to get them to take a step up the next rung of the ladder, that they're down and out, and we give them a ladder and try and help them get back up. And MCSA does that in their shelter. I know they do it through their social work and counseling. I know the domestic violence shelter is housed there now and is extremely key, and talk about a situation that people don't ask for that they end up in. I know there's other things they do as well. And so I feel pretty fortunate that I'm even able to donate to Adopt a Day and adopt one day a year at MCSA. And it's just one of those things where just not everybody gets what I've been able to get in my life. And a lot of times we think it's, those people, they're making dumb choices. Why would I give them a donation to help somebody who's just making poor choices? But it's beyond that. We kind of discount the fact that in this country and in this state of ours and in this even community of ours, people are going to have struggles, and it might be due to some of their bad choices, but it isn't just that. It's more than that. It's the lack of hope, the lack of opportunity that some people experience. And so the idea is step forward and see if we can give them that hope and opportunity.
I know you have had personal relationships with people who live at MCSA or who have lived there in the past. Can you think of a specific story or a specific instance where that person was positively impacted by MCSA?
Oh man, well there's probably dozens of them, and probably some that I should remember, but as I've aged, I don't remember as well. But Vicki and I work with some of the folks over the years at MCSA. We still do that. I have a person at MCSA that helps me here at the office an hour or so a week. Also helps at the house, at our home, probably 3 hours or so a week, 3 or 4 hours a week. and that person has, I believe, has seen that they have some ability. They have something to offer, that they don't have to just accept a circumstance and not do anything about it. It allows them to roll up their sleeves, do some work, and do some work that they can be proud of. They do some nice things for us, and they get a pat on the back when they do, and they also get a little monetary assistance that allows them to take one small step forward. And I know that they feel better about themselves and that they're accomplishing something. They were over for Thanksgiving this year. I think it was Thanksgiving. I can't remember. It was Thanksgiving. Yeah. And sat with our family, our larger segment of family, for about an hour and a half or so. That's about all the longer most people want to be in a house with our family. Not more like all families at Thanksgiving. I mean, you're with your family, so it's a whole different thing than somebody that doesn't know the family being there. But they were there, shared dinner with us, and that was a good experience for them. And they got to yell and scream at some of the football or whatever was on, and so. But that certainly is a positive story, and I'm sure there's many more.
You've been associated with the organization for a long time. Do you remember what your first association with MCSA was? And I'm going to guess that it may have even been in helping form it in the first place. But do you remember what your first connection to MCSA was?
Oh, kind of. I'm guessing a little bit here. I mean, certainly in the early stages, the people who were active in putting MCSA together were reaching out to community people, either for help financially or to understand the idea they were pursuing, and so certainly I was involved in some of their touches where they were talking to people. When you think about it, not only were we helping and have we helped people, but we've helped structures. That YMCA was a done deal at that point. We built a new Y. That building was in bad shape, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't to the point where you should tear it down. And if it weren't for the people that were involved in putting MCSA together, that building wouldn't be what it is today. And if you go and visit, and I'm sure Chris welcomes anyone who wants to wander in, you may want to call him first so he can properly.
We would like to have 24-hour notice for tours, but
right.
We're willing to give tours every day if people want to do it.
But that building is phenomenal. If any of you remember where you used to go swimming, that is now part of the shelter, and it was remodeled in a project, and the building has an elevator in it now. I mean, it wouldn't have happened, and it's an important part of our community. And although we don't always like to recognize that the part of our community exists where people are struggling, that we need to help, we do need to recognize it, and it's okay that it's right there and visible because of the way it's being done. It would be one thing if it was just poorly done and people were just hanging around and it was dirty and not taken care of. But this place, actually, I believe, is an example that other communities could follow. So my first initial thing, I think I actually served on the board when MCSA had like 15 balloons in the air. They were trying to do education and all different things. They were trying to involve themselves and impact a lot of areas. And it was a good idea. The thing is, it's hard to impact a lot of areas, and it's sometimes better if you focus on a few.
Well, and now we've done that. We've focused mostly on, emergency and transitional housing for women and kids, emergency and transitional housing in a separate area of the building for men. We have permanent supportive housing for men who have an income and can afford to rent a dorm room. And then in addition to that, we have in another building the domestic violence shelter. And then in addition to that, we have the homeless prevention program, which works with people who are on the verge of losing their housing or maybe have lost it, who maybe only need $50 to make a payment to keep the lights on so that they can keep their housing.
Yeah.
And the $1,500 that you and Vicki and the many others give to MCSA for this helps pay for all of that. I mean, MCSA is an organization that's open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If someone shows up at 11 o'clock at night and they don't have anywhere else to go, if they haven't had a meal, they're going to be welcomed at least for that first night, given a place to stay, given something to eat, and then we'll figure out the next day where they go from there.
Well, and again, I can't stress enough that, you don't know a person in total ever.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on inside that person. A lot of times we see the surface of someone, but what their mental health, what their intelligent quotient is, what their physical health is like, isn't always visible on the surface. And so a lot of times we think that people end up in their circumstances because they deserve it. And deserve is a harsh word.
Yeah.
People end up in their circumstances sometimes because of things we just don't know or see, and so we got to pay attention to that. That you can't just dismiss it.
Let's talk a little bit. Last year when you made your donation, you did something that I think is really neat and that I would encourage other people to consider doing as well. You made that donation in recognition of somebody else. Why did you do that, and why do you continue to do that?
Well, first, this interview is something that I'm not always real comfortable with because I'm really not sure I want everybody to know my business and know who and what organizations I support and how I support them or whether I support them or not. Those charitability, I think, sometimes is better off in anonymity. But because organizations like MCSA do such important work, I guess I feel like you asked me if I'd stand up, and I will for an organization like MCSA because I think people need to know. But when I gave my donation last year, I gave it in the name of someone else for a couple of reasons. One, because I like the anonymity, and it's okay with me if nobody knows, not the person that it's given in honor of, not that person's family, no one, but that person that I choose, and the one I chose last year, I felt probably wasn't ever going to get the recognition they deserved for the kind of person they were. And I think there's a lot of that out there. I mean, you can put your name on buildings and all that stuff, but there's a whole lot of people that we should be saying thank you to that we don't because we just don't know them, or they're doing it in just their day-to-day life, just being the person they are, caring about others, smiling, saying hi to you, and dealing with their own personal struggles. And as they deal with those personal struggles, they're still quality human beings that are doing good things for people. And this particular person that was the person I chose last year was that kind of person, and it was Rose Miller, and we lost her, and she passed away, and she certainly dealt with some tough things in her life, which we all have happened to us, but she also was just a really nice, good person who I can't remember her ever saying a cross word to me. And so that was the purpose. This year, I'm not sure which way I'll head with this.
Well, I don't know that I have anything else that I'd like to ask you. I do want to say thank you for your support of MCSA and for your participation in Adopt Today. If there's anything else you'd like people who are listening to this to know about either of those things, here's your chance. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you.
Well, my intent is to continue to make progress with what I do in my life and continue to support MCSA. And I may want to make sure people understand that your Adopt a Day program isn't just for someone who has $1,500 to give to Adopt a Day. You can adopt a part of a day. You can partner with others, and as Chris will tell you, he can probably help you partner with some others who don't have the wallet that allows them to give MCSA $1,500, but maybe it allows them $500 or something. I don't know.
We had a number of organizations last year that gave $500, and then we would take 3 of those and say that they sponsored a day.
So there's a way.
What's really important about that this year, and I think we mentioned this, but I want to make sure everybody knows, is that we do have matching grant money for this program this year. The Howe Family Foundation has pledged $25,000 in matching money for any organization that donates to Adopt a Day for the first time, or for an organization that increases its donation this year over what they gave last year. They will match that money. So if someone donates $300 and they've not done this before, they are in effect giving $600 to MCSA this year. So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty important. If you didn't mention that, and I can't remember whether you did or not, we should mention it again.
Yeah.
We need to thank the Howe Family Foundation. They've done a lot of good things, and certainly they're pretty careful with how they share their dollars and contribute their dollars, in that they find the right places. And so they've identified MCSA. So obviously we have more than one person who thinks it's a very valid place, and if they're matching, now's the time to come to the table, folks, and maybe I'll find a way. Talk to my employees, and maybe they'll help me out. Maybe I can increase mine this year, just to add to the match.
Well, that would be great. I appreciate that, John.
I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to visit.
Anybody who is listening to this and who would like to know more about MCSA, or who might be interested in being a partner in Adopt a Day, all you need to do is call me at MCSA. The number is 563-264-3278. We are at 312 Iowa Avenue if you want to stop in and see if you could make an appointment. We would love to take you on a tour of our building and show you all the things that we're doing and the people that we are helping and all of that. And would be more than glad to do that at any time. So I think we'll end it there. John, thank you again for everything you've done for us. This is Chris Steinbach. I'm the Deputy Director at MCSA, and we'll go back to the studio.